As part of troubleshooting, I might need to verify the IP configuration of a computer. The computer I'm working on has a single network interface card. I can go ahead and right-click on the network icon, select Network and Sharing, select Ethernet, select Properties, Internet Protocol version 4, and select Properties. Here it says to go ahead and get an IP address automatically. You can see that this doesn't really give me much information. I can, however, close those property dialogs and click the Details link. Here I have the IP information that was given to me from a DHCP server. Some of the lines of interest are the DHCP enabled, yes, my IP address and subnet mask, my default gateway and the DHCP server addresses, and the DNS server address. This dialog box isn't the only place that I can get that information. Now let's close all of these. I can open up a command prompt and use the utility ipconfig. ipconfig displays a little bit of information. It gives me my IP address, my subnet mask, and my default gateway. So it's a quick and easy way to confirm that I have an IP address. I actually want a bit more information than what I see here, so I'm going to type CLS to clear my current screen. If I want more information, I'll use the command ipconfig/all. Okay, let's scroll up. Here's the information we want to look for. We have the line DHCP enabled. It says yes. So does auto configuration enabled, our IPv4 address information, our subnet mask, our default gateway, and our DHCP server. We have the DNS servers. One of the lines that we want to focus on for troubleshooting is this line right here, DHCP enabled. It's currently telling us yes. Let's go back to the properties of this network interface card and make a few changes. So go ahead and open up the properties. In this case, we'll just give it some static IP information. We'll go ahead and configure a static IP address of 192.168.0.75. We'll leave the default subnet mask. Go ahead and set up a default gateway of 192.168.0.1. This is my current router. We'll provide a static DNS server address, 192.168.0.2. Let's click OK and close all of these dialog boxes. Now we'll go back to the command prompt. We'll issue an ipconfig/all command and scroll up. And let's look at the differences. It says DHCP enabled and no, whereas before it said yes. So we're no longer asking for information from the DHCP server. We've configured it statically, and you'll see that here. The IPv4 address is now 192.168.0.75, along with our subnet mask and the default gateway that we statically configured. You'll notice that underneath our default gateway line, there is no DHCP server IP address line. We know that it's not looking for the DHCP server in this case. So let's go back to our network card and re-enable DHCP and DNS. We'll right-click on the icon, select Network and Sharing Center, select Ethernet, Properties, Internet Protocol version 4, Properties, and select Obtain an IP address automatically. We'll also tell it to obtain a DNS server address automatically. And now let's close all of these dialog boxes. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and deactivate the DHCP server on the network. We're going to switch over to the server and we're going to deactivate the DHCP server on the network. It says my scope is active, and disabling the scope will prevent clients from obtaining IP addresses. Are we sure we want to disable the scope? We'll go ahead and click yes. And now we'll return back to our workstation. This time we want to use the utility called ipconfig/release. Now we've released any IP addresses. We no longer have an IP address that we're given from our DHCP server or the static configuration. We'll go ahead and use the command ipconfig/renew. Our computer is sending broadcast traffic out to look for a DHCP server requesting an IP address, and it might take a little while because it doesn't know that we shut down the DHCP service. This could take some time, so I'm going to hit Control-C to cancel that. Typically, I have a message that would state it was unable to contact the DHCP server. I'm going to go ahead and type in CLS to clear my screen again. Now let's look at an example scenario. Say we have a computer user that gives us a call and says, hey, I can't connect to the internet. you go to his workstation and you type the ipconfig/all command. So we'll scroll up here and start to diagnose the problem. We want to notice that yes, DHCP is enabled, so it wants to talk to the DHCP server. In this case, I'm missing the line that says DHCP server with its IP address. Instead, I have an IP address that has been given to me through auto configuration, which is known as automatic private IP addressing, or a PIPA. I'll know that because all addresses assigned through a PIPA have the network address of 169.254 with a subnet mask of 255.255.0.0. When you see that the DHCP is enabled, yet you have an address within this range, you'll know that a PIPA has given it this IP address. This also means that if you have other computers on the network that couldn't reach the DHCP server, they'll also probably have 169.254 IP addresses. Now, before we end this demonstration, I'm going to go back into my server and activate my DHCP scope so my workstation can get an IP address. I'm back on the server and I'll right-click on my scope and select Activate. Now let's return to our workstation one final time. I'll do an ipconfig/renew. So I see that I have an IP address, but I want more information. So I'll type in ipconfig/all, scroll up, and see the information here. You can see that we do have DHCP enabled. We also have the IP address and the rest of the information that the DHCP assigned to our workstation.